There are 13 Kamen Riders in Kamen Rider Ryuki as a whole. With even more characters, you assume the mantle of a Kamen Rider, and that's not even going into characters who have powers like a Kamen Rider. And me, a gigantic Kamen Rider Ryuki fan, am going to rank them all. So to start out, this is going to be a special kind of tier list. And what I mean by that is that the way I judge these characters will be different. Full disclosure, I am a writer, so I see a lot of potential in these characters. I'm asking myself questions like, what would make someone want to write about this character? In the rankings, I'll put forth potential story ideas for each person. If you want to use them for fan fiction, fan art, or whatever you want, just feel free to. Just do me a favor and check out my original stories at adventofheroeswordpress.com. Link will be on the screen. Now let's get started. I'll explain the tiers as we go along. Top tier. These are the best characters of Ryuki. They work exceptionally well in the TV series and carry a large influence or weight over the rest of the show. Any amazing show should have the main character at the top of the list. Ryuki's suit is amazing, and it sets the standards for the other riders, plus he has a pet dragon. So there's enough cool factor alone to put him on the top. However, what really makes Shinji shine as a character is that he has the perfect foundation for superhero stories, making him ideal not just for a Kamen Rider or Battle Royale story, but for any type of superhero story. Let's start with his personality. He's the relatable everyman, the underdog, and he has a goofy but clever fighting style. And then you have his career as a journalist in his supporting cast of Ore Journal. He really isn't very different from Clark Kent or Peter Parker, so you can easily fit Shinji into different situations using a reporting job or the mirror world as a means to travel to other universes. I think all of these really make Shinji more valuable as a character. It's been said many times, but what is a hero without his villain? Odin and Kenzaki Shiro may have limited screen time, but their actions and presence echo throughout the whole show. Every impactful scene of Ryuki, Kenzaki is always implicit. The pair leads to a lot of mystery and lore questions too, with how Odin is always implied to be in survive mode, and that he is also merely possibly just a puppet for Kenzaki. And Kenzaki's simple motivation just to save Yui after implied parental neglect, it's realistic and understandable. He combines ruthlessness with sympathy like any good villain should. And his final decision to reset time leads towards his redemption. But that doesn't necessarily mean his story is over. Potential stories you or a future writer could do are 1. Consequences for resetting time, or consequences of the Rider War. 2. Possibly becoming fully redeemed as a force for good. Or 3. You could just explore just how much in control he is of the mirror world. Go into that mirror world lore just a bit more. With a memorable actor and more post-series appearances than the actual main character, it's easy to see what potential Oja has as an antagonist. He is a formidable opponent for any Kamen Rider, and all he wants to do is fight. Put him in with any group of villains, and the audience will cheer. But for deeper plots, Oja's relationship with his monsters and Genocider could make for some fun stories. He isn't a three-dimensional character in the slightest, but that's really what makes him enjoyable in the first place. The Great Tier. Simply put, these are amazing characters, and while they don't steal the spotlight from the top tier characters, you can still do plenty of these characters on their own. Kitoka is a character of conflicting emotions. He can be a jerk with a heart of gold or just plain manipulative. Sometimes he is more morally gray, and other times he just hangs out the other Kamen Riders. Similar to Shinji, he almost has a complete framework to be his own protagonist, with a supporting cast of Reiko and Goro, and he has an exciting lawyer career with his rich lifestyle. He wants to save himself from an incurable disease. It's understandable, but it doesn't excuse his actions compared to some of the other characters more. And in addition, his gun-toting abilities, visor-like design, and a purely mechanical monster that won't eat him make him stand out. There are plenty of elements for potential stories here. Not to mention, you can have Goro use the Zolda mantle, and he could use some of the unused advent cards that Kentoka never used in series. Rin clashes with Shinji's personality, and he gets enough focus that some consider him to be the main character. His suit has an awesome design, along with a cool fighting style. He probably has the most sympathetic motivation out of all the other characters, which is to save Eri from dying. And it's also clear he has a strong desire to protect Shinji post-series. But what I find most interesting about him is that Kinzaku clearly respects him, and he has a complicated relationship with Darkwing, since he is forced to rely on the creature that hurt Eri in the first place. He also has potential to be a more morally gray character, I would say, but I don't think he has enough to be a protagonist outside of Ryuki's story, so that's why I put him further down on the list. Tezuka is a likable guy. Characters that want to change a predetermined future are a time-proven story, and his status as a wandering fortune teller with goals to stop the Rider War are good, as well as his darker side of wanting vengeance for his friend Yuchi. I think you could reinvent Tezuka to be the protagonist of his own stories. I think he works better as a supporting character. Ryuga is a simple concept, the evil play of the hero. This isn't the most original idea, but he has a cool design, and his status as being from the mirror world means you can tie him into the deeper parts of the Ryuki lore. And as we've seen, he makes a good antagonist for crossovers. Personally, in the stories I've written, I try to redeem him, since he is technically still a part of Shinji. Good tier. These characters are interesting and have some fun personalities, but just don't stand above the other tiers. Tiger is an exciting character, because he is like a time bomb, a hero that can betray and murder you at any moment. He makes a well-done antagonist, but since the series wrapped his arc up in a perfect bow, I think doing new stories with him would be difficult. He would be a great character to throw in with other heroes and villains, but you'll just be retreading his story in the TV series. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it kinda lowers him on this list. Professor Kagura is a darker, more complicated character. His actions in the TV show caused the corruption of Tiger and the death of his other student. Despite trying to stop Kanzaki, he is nearly as bad as him, since he was willing to sacrifice his family for his own twisted ideals. With a unique bootleg design of the Ryuki writers and being a more ends justifies the means scientist, there's plenty you can do with him as a character. The only reason he isn't higher than Tiger on this list is because he just isn't as cool. I don't think Guy is anyone's favorite Ryuki character, but that doesn't mean he's a bad character. A sociopath who enjoys mocking the hero and being the villain. That's fun! And he gets some memorable moments as the boss of Ore Journal. In fact, he kind of reminds me of the Widower with his talk about games and thinking he's smarter than everyone. Unfortunately, Miho is just kind of a budget Odin mixed in with Knight. With the same motivation, the only thing that really sets her apart from those two characters is being the first female writer and a love interest for Shinji. She isn't bad. In fact, I think you could utilize her as kind of like a black cat / Catwoman type character for Shinji, and that puts her ahead of the next tier. The Reinventable tier. These are characters that don't stand well on their own. They have their own purpose and can be enjoyable, but more importantly, they have potential. A small amount of potential, but the potential for a future writer or a new story to really take what's there and expand upon them. Verde isn't anything special really. He's a generic, power-hungry CEO with a cool suit and finisher. But I ask you this. What superhero franchise doesn't have a use for an evil CEO with superpowers? Look at Lex Luthor and the Green Goblin. He doesn't leave much of a mark on the 13 Riders, but there's still plenty you could use him for. I'm tempted to put Scissors higher because of memes, but Scissors isn't nearly as useful as some of the other characters. He's a corrupt cop with powers who kills people. That is interesting in itself. You can do something with that and mold it into a greater story, or maybe just take inspiration from his meme status for dying horribly and do something with that. Abyss is on this list for being connected to Ryuki despite being an antagonist for decades. There isn't really much to say about him. The most fascinating thing about him is that he's secretly an undead from Blade's world. That sounds like a cool enough plot hook that someone can make more compelling. Blade Ryuki crossover, anyone? The bottom tier. This tier is for characters who either don't have much going on for them, or characters I don't think you can do much with story-wise. I think placing Emperor so low on this list is going to confuse or anger some people. The truth is, Emperor has a really good arc in the show, but as a writer, I don't see a lot of use for him. He may be a higher gun type character, more interested in money compared to loyalty. This does sort of give him a chaos factor, similar to Tiger, but his sympathetic ending kinda overrides that. I don't think anyone wants to see Emperor as a villain again. We want to see him live a happy life after his tragic ending. In essence, I feel like he's somewhat a one-trick pony, like a teenager in a horror movie who doesn't learn his lesson till it's too late. Bet you weren't expecting this, huh? Yeah, another Ryuki. He's just kinda there. Similar motivation to Kanzaki, Knight, and Fime. He feels more like a pawn than a character himself. Remember girls, never date a guy who hit you with his car. Seriously. That was so weird. Why was that even in the special? The list ends and begins with Ryuki. The entire AR Ryuki world is a bootleg world, not nearly as good as the TV show, with a bizarre plotline of everyone being a lawyer and fighting for the same thing. I can't help but feel they missed the entire point of what made Ryuki so appealing. Writers are celebrities there, which is kinda different, but it doesn't save him from being at the bottom. Well, we made it to the end of the video. I realize now, as I was recording, I did forget one character, Kochi Sakakibara, the original Ryuki. He's such a minor character, it was kinda only brought in to be a cameo for Ryu Ranger, that I decided that you guys should decide which tier he really goes into. I was either going to put him in the bottom or the Reinventable tier, so please comment what you think. But more importantly, thank you for watching the entire thing. It's nice for me to finish this and just talk about one of my favorite TV shows. I might do more of these kind of rankings in the future if I have time, but again, just thank you.